I'm so excited to have all of you guys in the house today. I've got two of my favorite people. I mean, the two Chris's. I know this is going to be an issue trying to remember who to call on, but we will make do. So, if you guys are just joining us, we would love it if you would share it across the interwebs. And we're talking about building brand deals today, and this is something that I wish I would have, when I was first started out, I would have known about. So make sure that you call in your friends who who are interested in this. Mention them down below. Ask your questions because we have two experts. Chris P is the guest. Chris Stone is technically my co-host because Grace is out gallivanting around for the 4th of July holiday. But make sure you ask your questions because this is going to be a really good deal. Chris P, where are you at? I'm not even sure where you're calling in from.
Based in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. So we've got some people already dialing in. And Chris Stone, you are from Atlanta, right? Or
I'm just down the road from Chris P in Atlanta. What, 3.5 hours away probably from Charlotte. So yeah, I'm based here in Atlanta. Happy to be on my most favorite live show on the interweb, social media news live. And welcome to these like fantastic people who I'm going to try to do my best Grace Duffy, which means I'll be completely awful, but I'll do my best. I'll do my best. No, there is only one Grace Duffy.
She's the amazing Grace is what I call her.
That's true. Everybody needs a Grace.
So I'm really curious because I noticed this last night when I was on another show. I'm not being able to pull in some of you guys' comments on Facebook. It's just saying Facebook user. But we got Katie from the UK. We got Rob Alsabas. Rob, I thought you were on vacation. So thank you if you are for joining in, or maybe you just need a vacation from your vacation and decided to come in here. There's our friend Tim. Good morning from the Bears and the Turkeys. I don't know what that means.
He's in Pennsylvania, where it's like he looks out his window and there's like bears and turkeys, like gallivanting, like out in his backyard.
Together?
So
are they together or?
Sure, sometimes I suppose.
And there's Monty Weaver. Monty, thank you for joining in today. He goes, let's talk some money. Yeah, Monty.
Yeah, brand deal goat.
He's another guy that is on top of it, especially on Amazon Live. And my friend Ian Anderson Gray from the UK, always making fun of Texas. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Thank you. Thank you, Ian.
That's great.
So, we're talking all about building brand deals. So I'm going to go ahead and hit go on the podcast machine, and we'll get started. You guys ready?
Yes, sir.
I think so.
All right, here we go. Hello, folks. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not. And this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media. On today's show, we have our friend Chris Giles, and we're talking all about brand deals and how to get them. Chris, how are you doing today, my friend?
Hey, man, doing great, man. Appreciate you having me on. How are you?
Yeah, so if you don't know who Chris is, let me introduce you to him. Chris P Giles is the founder and lead creator at Black Thigh Media, where he helps entrepreneurs and content creators navigate and monetize in a digital world. He has spent the last 18 years in the entertainment and live events industry, where he has done everything from DJing, audio engineering, video engineering, and more for live and virtual events. He also currently handles marketing and business development for J Street Productions. Chris, I'm really, did I pronounce your company right? Because
Black Tie.
Yeah, Black Tie. Okay. And tell us how you kind of got started. Like, give us a brief overview kind of on your journey or maybe your superhero origin story, because you are a superhero in my book.
Man, origin story, man. Look, I got started in production in church, man. I wanted to figure out a way to not have to sit in the service with all the older people, and so they said, "Hey, these young guys, they know how to push the buttons, right?" So I got in the production, man, at like 15, and so 18, I got my first set of CD turntables. I wasn't vinyl, I was CD turntables, and just started down that path, man, of entertainment and wanting to do music. And so then that opened up the door to being able to mix live church events, getting into some of the contemporary stuff, and being able to mix some of those bigger bands. And then went full time at production, man, and started doing a lot of corporate events, some music stuff. And 2020 hit, and there weren't no more live events to produce.
Right.
And so I said, hey, I got all this gear at home. Why don't I, at first, really, I was just like, let me play video games on the internet, since I have nothing better to do with my time, right? And man, it turned into I can get paid to do this thing. Yeah, let's get into it, man. And so, man, that's how I get online, and that's why my face shows up on the internet now, man.
That's really funny. It's kind of a similar story. I started doing video stuff in church as well. I didn't DJ, but the reason I got into computers is because I had to, back in the day, and maybe Chris Stone remembers this, but DOS and all that. I wanted to play video games, and I had to work on computers because they just wouldn't. You'd have to load those floppies. I remember when Wolfenstein 3D came out in my college dorm, and I was like, this is amazing. This is a whole new world. So anyway, Chris Stone, tell us a little bit about yourself, and he's filling in for Grace today, but he's amazing. I've seen him over on Dealcasters. That's my favorite show on the interwebs. So talk a little bit about, your origin story, how you got there, and a little bit about Dealcasters.
Yeah, I'm Chris Stone. I'm not Grace Duffy, and I know a lot of people get us confused.
That's right.
So I just want to make that clear. But I'm Chris Stone. I'm a Cast Ahead at castahead.net, and I work with motivated entrepreneurs to do their show because they don't want to know how the sausage is made. So I do that for them. And I also co-host a show with my good buddy Jim Fuse on Amazon, and it's called Dealcasters, and we have a blast doing it. And that's how we met Chris P Giles, who's on the show today, Tech Talk with Chris. We saw this guy playing video games and then talking to people as they came in and telling them what computers to buy and what headphones they should be. And I was like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. This guy knows what he's talking about. And we became fast friends, so much so that we were able to meet in person for the first time down in Orlando at Podfest and VidFest on an entire day Friday for Amazon, and be able to help other people go live on Amazon like Ian Anderson Gray is now. That's and right. just crushing it. So looking forward to chopping it up with you gentlemen today.
Yeah. So and I got to meet Chris Giles there as well in Florida. So that was really, really cool because I had been watching him as well. I stalk a lot of people. I just want you to know. So he probably didn't know me at all, but I stalk a lot of people. So I was watching his shows over on.
It's okay. I was watching you too, man. It's all good.
That's all right. See, it's easy. Yeah. So before we talked about meeting people, and one of the things I want to do a big shout out to my friends over at ECAMM, and you can find out more about them at socialmedianewslive.com/ECAMM. They're going to be at Podcast Movement coming up the end of August in Dallas. So if you guys want to come hang out with them, they're going to do a bunch of cool stuff. They've got a booth. I think we're actually going to broadcast this show on Friday morning from the booth. So if you want to come and say hi and check that out, that's going to be a lot of fun. And right now, they have a special deal going on that if you are a new user and if you go to socialmedianewslive.com/ECAMM, you can get 30% off of ECAMM. So the promo code that you'll use is July 30, and it lasts all this month. So they're doing all sorts of cool stuff. They, they got this one-time discount of any plan, standard, pro, monthly, or annual. Just use that promo code July 30 and check that out. All right, let's get into it because, like I said at the top of the show, I wish I would have known what I know now when I first got started. And both of these guys have really. I've watched them make brand deals. Chris Stone has even, we message each other back and forth. He helps me out this way. So these guys know what they're talking about when it comes to brand deals, and we are going to talk about that. So make sure if I miss anything or you want your question answered, ask it down below because I want to make this show all about you guys. But let's talk about, from the top, brand deals. So when we say brand deals, Chris Giles, what does that mean? What is that talking about? Let's take it from people who have no idea what that means.
Yeah, for me, if you have no clue what it is, to me, it's the idea of a company has a product or a service that they sell, and they want you to promote that said product or service, and they're going to pay you directly for it, not affiliate, not any of that. They're going to give you a check or cash for the right to promote their product, and so that's the simplest form of a brand deal, man.
Gotcha. So we had somebody, and I know this because this was the thing too, is I need a brand deal with Sonic. We spend too much on drinks there. Yeah, so let me know how that works because that would be really, really cool. So that brings up another point. And Chris Stone, I know you have done both, so maybe you can take this one. How are these different from, say, a sponsorship? Like, ECAMM sponsors this show. That's not really a brand deal. So what's kind of the difference between them?
There's not a whole lot of difference. I mean, I think I don't like to get hung up too much on the semantics of all of this. But, when you're having a conversation with a company that has a product, whether that's a SaaS product or whether that's an actual physical product like a camera or a lens or a drill or whatever, they want you to promote it. And, ECAMM being a sponsor of this show, I mean, obviously you are promoting it, you're using it, and people are seeing it. And by the way, I love ECAMM, and it's not just because it's sponsored. I use it all the time for doing scenes and all kinds of stuff. But I think, people have a misconception about brand deals and sponsorships from the standpoint of, one is dictating something and the other is dictating. It's a collaborative effort, really. And so, a lot of what we may get into is, as a creator, which we all here are, we have certain things that we'd like to accomplish in our content creator journey, and having these brand deals allow us financially to do that if we're using these products already. And we're very sensitive about our brands and how things, it has to be something we really truly believe in, right? And if we're using something already, like the microphone I'm speaking into, these brands may be more apt to have conversations with you, and therefore that becomes an exchange of products, but also an exchange of money in return for deliverables. And I think that's really how brand deals work, whereas sponsorships feel more like you're endorsing something, and it's more of a sort of a long-term, you can only use this kind of thing for a certain thing for a certain amount of time, and that sort of plays into the trust of the people that maybe follow you versus what is a brand deal, if that makes any sense. And that's, again, logistically, semantically, like it's all kind of like, there's a lot of gray areas in there. It really just is a conversation of, hey, if you do X, Y, and Z, and we pay you Y, does this make sense? And then you just have a conversation and, sign something. And then, in terms of how we do it, we like to over deliver. So that we can, be that sort of comfortable pair of shoes for that particular brand when it's time to do something else.
So, Chris Giles, can you actually have both at the same time? Can you have a sponsorship and a brand deal? I mean, I know I've seen some YouTubers who have done, or I guess it could also, like, you do a brand deal, then it could morph into a sponsorship if you're doing a live show. Have you seen that happen before?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think, just the way Chris Stone explained it, right? If this show is sponsored by ECAMM, right? But then over my shoulder, I have a coffee company that is a brand deal where they go, hey, can we just sit a pack of coffee in the background and you just shout us out one time? Like that then becomes the brand deal of like, I have the coffee, or like Chris Stone said, the microphone itself. This was a brand deal where they sent me the microphone and paid me to talk about it, but they don't sponsor the show. Right. And so I think that's where you kind of get in those differentiations where you can use both at the same time and, maximize that income, stack it. Right.
That's right. So, and either one of you can take this one, but how long do brand deals usually last? Do you put a time limit on them, or do you say like, we'll just go until they're not happy anymore? Like, what do you do? Chris P, I'll start with you, and then we'll go over to Stone.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I think it comes down to your personal, right, and what you're willing to do. And so, for example, the microphone I'm using, when I did the deal with them, it was kind of an open-ended thing. We basically were like, hey, when we want to stop, we'll stop, or we'll let you know if we don't want to pay you anymore to do videos, right? But it was just like a, hey, per video, every time you go live, send us the link and we'll send you a check. And so those are the ones that I like. The one thing I always suggest though is if you are trying to put in a contract where there's a time limit, exclusivity. I'm not a fan of exclusivity, so I don't like it to be like, hey, I can only talk about you for 6 months personally. But again, at your personal, you have to look at your business plan and go, how does this fit into my overall goal? Obviously, for the right amount of money, yeah, I'll talk exclusively about anything,
Yeah. So before we go to Chris Stone, Jarhead6 says, just got a deal that will last a year, one shot a month for 12 months. So thanks for being specific for that. It's very, very cool. Nice. So from what I understand is if you do make an exclusive deal, like I'm only going to talk about this, then you have to raise the prices because you're kind of put yourself in a box. So go ahead, Chris Stone.
And I think length of time plays into that as well. For us, exclusivity, especially for SaaS, especially for, because Jim and I are remote producers and we have to use multiple softwares for doing anything. And so for us, it's a non-starter to be exclusive to any one software or company, especially as it relates to live streaming, remote production, because we have other businesses, other streams of revenue as content creators. And so we have to really be sensitive to that. And, I also think it plays everything, and Chris P Giles spoke into this, everything plays into the trust of your audience, the people who you are speaking to. And exclusivity is, boy, you really, really have to believe in that thing, and like nothing else will ever compare to that for that period of time. It's really hard to do that. And so, but believe it or not, there are companies that we talk to that we've done deals with that actually encourage you to use their competition and to speak about their competition, because they want that as well. They, so as in the Amazon influencer world, we're not, major influencers. We're just not. And so there's a trust level of like, this is just a normal, Chris Stone is just a normal person who knows a little bit to be dangerous about microphones and tech and those kinds of things. And so people, are kind of like, I can identify with this person, and maybe, he knows a little bit about the Rodecaster Pro and I could buy that. But if Kevin Hart shows up and starts talking about the Rodecaster Pro, are you more apt to buy that? And so I think a lot of brands are realizing, especially on this platform with more nano influencers and more micro influencers and whatever, people that have thousands of influencers, thousands of followers, not tens of thousands or hundreds of millions, that they have power on platforms like this. And so if they're using varying products and being able to talk about those varying products, it actually behooves that brand to be a part of that mix, as opposed to being exclusively the one and only particular microphone brand that a tech influencer uses. They'd rather just be a component of that. And then they have a longer game that they can, be a part of that whole thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think what you said is the big thing I got out of that is like, okay, brands are starting to realize that these nano influencers can talk directly to the people instead of a celebrity talking down to those people. And that's becoming more and more lucrative. And we've had like Stephanie Liu on the show and some other people, and the rise of this live video shopping, which we are just on the cusp of. And we're going to have, there's going to be more and more brands looking for people like, Chris Stone, Jeff C., Chris Giles, that they can talk to the people and know how to use live video. So I thought that was really, really cool. I do want to pull up one comment really quick, and this is from our friend Scott Ayers. He says, Chris Stone is normal in what world? Says the guy with an orange wig as his profile photo. That's what I like. Okay, Scott. Yeah. But Scott is killing it on Amazon Live too. I mean, yeah, Amazon and Amazon Live. So I know he's made some great brand deals as well. So one of the things I wanted to ask, and Chris Giles, you can take this one first, is like, what are the typical deliverables in a brand deal? Because I know a lot of people are like, do I just have to say their name or hold up their mug, or what are kind of the deliverables? If I could say, yeah, Hooked on Phonics is going to be my brand sponsor here in a minute. What are the typical deliverables in a brand deal?
Yeah, for sure. And so the thing I love about this is that you can be creative. It's literally whatever you want it to be. And so for me, what I try to do in my brand deals is I don't allow them to dictate what they're getting. I let them know what I'm willing to give. And so just say, for example, on Amazon Live, right? I say, hey, I'm willing to feature your product on an Amazon, on an actual live stream, right? But you're one product of many on our live stream. I'm also willing to clip that out and make it a short Amazon product video. And so that's what I tell them, and that's what I'm willing to do for them. And I make sure that they're clear on, like, I'll take your notes personally, but I don't speak to a script, because
Mhm.
everything that I do is going to be the genuine. I'm gonna tell the truth. I won't bad talk it. Like, I won't say it's the horrible product. I will point out the goods and the bads, right? And so I make sure to explain it up front. When you get to other platforms, that's when you kind of have to differentiate. If you're on Instagram, are you doing this? Are you doing a couple stories, because stories are shorter, right? Are you doing a reel for them? Are you doing just a picture post? And so you can kind of create the packages as much as you want. And one of the cool things, I think, is when you're on multiple platforms as a creator, you can kind of bundle those things up, because you
Mhm.
can still lead the people back to that product or service that you're having that deal with.
Very, very cool. So, Chris Stone, do you stay on platform for like your deliverables? Like, he talked about mixing like Instagram stories and all that stuff. Or, I mean, how do you usually, what are your kind of standard deliverables that you offer your clients?
If the brand is coming to you because of a particular platform, then that's where the lion's share of what your deliverables should be, obviously. So, like, and a majority of what people are coming to us for is what we're doing on Amazon. And so, a majority of what our deliverables will be Amazon related. And so the other things, socials, videos, YouTube, all of those things that we sort of create in terms of packages are smaller, but they're smaller in terms of impact and what the brand wants. And I think what Chris said was key. Chris P, what he said was key, was because you should create packages for yourself as an influencer, and there should be if a brand comes to you because of your Amazon show, here's what you can provide to them at this particular price, which is shoppable video, featured in a particular live stream, and whatever else you can do for them on Amazon, your shop, all of those things that you can do for them. Create a package, but also keep it in pencil for two reasons. Number one, not every brand and not every product is the same. They're all different, and they're all going to have different needs. And you should sort of serve that brand's needs, so that they're more apt to come back to you. They feel like they're getting some value from you. But also, like, the other things that you're adding, which may be Instagram Reels, YouTube videos, like all of those things that are a part of your package, just know that those aren't as interesting to them as the thing that they came to you for. So that's a nice thing, but don't spend too much time with that. So, create a package that's kind of malleable, that you can just kind of change for that particular brand, for that particular product. But also be ready to raise your price. Be able to, when you write down that price and type it out, to look at it and then raise it again before you send it. Because what we learned early on, and maybe I'm jumping ahead here, Jeff,
That's
but
all right.
You're
good.
what we learned early on is we got some very quick yeses. And we were initially very happy when we got, and then we realized, boy, that was really fast. We didn't charge enough.
Right.
And so I think that's the other thing you got to realize is, especially, a lot of these Amazon influencers aren't used to, having these conversations with these brands. And so, you hear these stories of them either not charging or charging very little. And then you realize, like, you're a lot more valuable than that. So we learned early on to raise those prices, and even raise them again the longer that we're able to do that, and increase the value. Because if you do get no's, then that may be no for now, but it may be yes later.
Yeah. So, Chris P, because Chris Stone opened this door, let's talk a little bit. And I want to do a shout out, because our friend Randall Constant over on Amazon Live says, "Hey, Chris and Jeff." He says, "Chris can be dangerous." He didn't say which one, so we're just going to lump you both in together. You're both
We're
dangerous.
both full of danger.
That's right.
Yes.
Exactly. So, Chris P, talk about like your strategy for pricing. Because I think, especially for people watching who are, trying to navigate this maybe for the first time, this kind of advice is really invaluable. So what is your thoughts on pricing?
Yeah, for me, one of the things, the way I started originally was I said, what is it that I want to make an hour? Just in a theory, right? Because that's something that most people's mind can wrap their head around, right? And then I go, okay, 15 you can get at a regular place. So it's like, let's ramp it up. If I'm going live on a live stream and I want to make $50 or $100 an hour, that's where I start at, right? And then what happens is as you grow, you test the waters and you just literally, I started sending out higher numbers when Chris said he sent it and they said yes too fast.
Right.
I was like, okay, they said it too fast. Next time I'll double it and see what they say. And literally just keep raising the price until you get so much pushback that you're like, okay, this might be my sweet spot. Another thing for me, and like we were talking about the packaging earlier, right, is when you're thinking about the deliverables, thinking about your strategy and how long it takes you to create that content, right? And so for a live stream, right, me personally, I'm at the hip. I literally just put a bunch of stuff on the table next to me and I go. There's no plan to it. I'm just that kind of person. And then so for a shoppable video, right, to me that's an extra add-on. But it has a perceived value, because for me, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go chop it out of my live stream. I'm not creating a second video, and so I add that in, and now it's a perceived value of, oh, I get a live stream and a shoppable video, and now I can add a premium on that because it is, to them, it's a perceived value case. So that's how I get started in there for me.
Awesome, great advice. And we do have. So I saw him speak at the Amazon Day. We have Justin Moore, who is like the brand deal guy, saying, yo, my favorite topic.
Yeah.
He killed it on those that your panel, or you're having him talk. So
yeah,
that was
he's
really cool.
he's fantastic. If anybody wants to know and follow up after this show, how to, the levels above me for sure in terms of dealing with brands, Creator Wizard, Justin Moore, look him up on YouTube, and definitely at a minimum go and subscribe to Justin Moore's email list. It's free to you. And I don't know about you guys, but I subscribe to probably too many email lists, right. Some on purpose, others like, how the heck did I get on this list? But Justin Moore's email list, that thing, every single time I open it up and every single time I read it. That's how valuable it is. Not only is it just valuable mindset stuff, fun memes as a content creator dealing with brands, but also a list of, here are a bunch of brands that are like looking for content from you that will pay you in every single one of those emails. So go and subscribe to that.
Yeah, great advice. I did that when I heard him in Florida. So Jarhead 6 Studio says that, when we were talking about, saying yes very quick, he says, that's happened to me. The brand says yes very, very quick. And something, we talked about deliverables before, and something that I have done is I'll list a lot of deliverables, and have a huge price, because then I can pare it down. Like,
yes.
Instead of like going like hitting small and they say yes too quick, I do something that I'm pretty sure they're going to say no to, but I can take stuff away. But then they can come back and say, well, if we want to do this later, how much, you could do it that way. So start the kind of the opposite way than going the other way. So anyway, that took me a long time to learn, because I did a lot of free stuff. So let's talk about, the big elephant in the room, and we talked about Justin for one of the things. If you want to get brand deals, sign up for his newsletter, and we'll drop that in the show notes after the show. But here's the big question: like, how big do I have to be before I can get a brand deal? So, Chris P, take that away.
Man, I think so. The funny part about this is I'm not a size guy. Like I consider myself a nano micro influencer, whatever the actual term is, right? Like if we're looking at Amazon Live specifically, like I have 500 followers over there, right? And so I don't sell on followers though. I sell on the fact that if you have a product on Amazon, I know the strategy of how to get your product seen and move units. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's what it becomes to, is the value proposition. What value can you give to a brand, right? I mean, you can have 1,000, but if you have 1,000 people, that 900 of them are going to go buy what you say, then you just kind of communicate that value to that brand. And so to me, any size, man. And guess what? Ask. The worst they can say is no. Yes. You didn't have it before, right?
That is so true. Being able to just, and I don't know why so many of us wait, that we don't think that we are big enough, or we're, we have enough followers, or our show, whatever. And man, that if there's one takeaway you can take away from the show, it's this: is like, ask the worst they could do is say no. It doesn't hurt you at all. It's not going to like cause you anything, but it could, even if they say no, it could develop a relationship later. And so being able to talk to brands and being able to like have just their email address is a great thing. So, Chris Stone, what do you think?
Do you want to know how to be able to talk to brands? Start talking to brands.
Right.
Seriously, it's like, if you want brand deals, I mean, you're gonna have to go through some mistakes. You're gonna have to go through a lot of no's. I always talk about, as a creator, to create more than you consume. You can sit back and consume a show like this, which you should. This is a fantastic show. Go and follow Social Media News Live, best show on the interwebs. But if you don't act on these things, if you don't, learn about how to create a course or a podcast or how to speak to brands, and you can consume that all day long. But if you don't pick up your phone or start typing emails or start doing tactical things to and act on those things, you're not going to just automatically be the amazing brand whisperer. You have to start doing it and start making mistakes. I made a ton of them. I'm sure, Jeff, you and Chris probably can say, yes, I made mistakes. Yes. I creeped into the DMs of this particular brand and said, hey, want to talk, or whatever. That kind of stuff. Those are mistakes. But there are some great information that you can get from people like Justin Moore, from Kirk Nugent, from Jeff C., from Chris P Giles. It's like, take that information and act on it and start having these conversations, start making mistakes and being okay with it. And, but I think in terms of the question, how big do you have to be? Not that big. And it's getting better and better. That line is moving. That goalpost those are moving. In fact, it's better that you're not a major influencer, especially when it comes to live selling. People are identifying more with, walking into Costco and somebody's baking some little pizza bite and you're like, that really tastes good. You don't look at the person that's baking it and go, well, you're not Kevin Hart. Yeah. It's like, no, you just really liked whatever that was.
And now I'm hungry. So I got to go to
let's
Sam's
eat
afterwards.
pizza.
Yes. So somebody said, did Chris Stone just say be a brand whisperer? Yes. And he did. So hashtag brand whisperer. And Chris, somebody else said, exactly, Chris, start acting on what you have learned and heard about. And Katie says, aha moment for her was, what value can you give to a brand? And so one of the things, this next question I want to ask, and I'm just going to throw out what I have done, is so like, how do I pitch brands when I'm small? One of the best things I have found is to go to conferences like we just went to the one that Chris Stone and Jim Fuse helped put on at PodFest, and going into those booths and talking to the people who have mic deals, have the mic products and stuff like that. So a long time ago, Heil sent me this microphone, which is a Heil PR40, which is an amazing microphone. Well, I met them at a conference. I met them and sat down and talked to them, and they're like, "Hey, do you want a mic?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I do." So send it. But the cool, and then also I think is the importance of the community that you're in is not having this scarcity mindset and being able to go, like, when they were Heil microphone was at PodFest, and I was able to take Jim Fuse from Dealcasters and go, "Hey, this guy, he's on Amazon Live too. He'd be a great fit for you guys." And so that stuff started happening. So the relationships I think we need to also talk about is like the networking and helping each other out, but also just getting FaceTime at a booth and like, tell me about your mics. And by the way, I'm an Amazon influencer or whatever, or I do live shows, or I have a TikTok channel or whatever. So Chris P, talk about how when you're small to get those deals, some other things that you have found that are helpful.
Yeah, I love that. Like in Katie's question, she was like, what value do you add? And what you have to look at is yourself and what you provide personally, right? And so, if you're a mom blogger, right, then you go, hey, I'm a mom blogger that I have, 500 other moms that come join me on Amazon Live or on Instagram and ask me questions about this kind of stuff. I would love to promote your product to them because I believe in your product. One thing for me, so again, in my story, right, I'm a production guy. And so my setup is a higher level with the lights and the nice camera and all that. And so on one of the brand deals, like for the microphone company that I did, I met them to talk about Amazon Live. And then they said, hey, we actually have a show on Alibaba. There's an Alibaba Live, and we're streaming it from our phones, and it's just some people in the office, and they're streaming it vertical at a conference table. Can we pay you to do what you do on Amazon Live for us on Alibaba? And of course, I'm like, well, absolutely, because I don't know anybody else on Alibaba, right? So yeah, I'll take the shot. Like, and so that for me, that was the value that I personally had, because that's the space that I'm in. So just think about what it is you personally have that's different from other audiences, or unique, that you can share,
What about you, Chris Stone?
Yeah, I love that perspective. I think I think we have to realize, like, nobody knows who you are, and most people don't care. I know I'm not trying to deflate anyone or pop any balloons here, but don't automatically assume that people know everything there is about Amazon, live selling, or your brand, or what you're doing. And so you got to go and you got to get it, and that you've got to go and make yourself visible and make yourself aware. And don't just assume that if you just put your card table out on the flea market, that people are going to flock to it. And so, you've got to, when you have that sort of mindset and think, oh God, everybody knows about dealcasters, and they don't. So if you want to talk to a brand and get a brand deal of something that you really like, the first thing that we do is we actually use the product. We have a conversation with Shure. One of the first things they said is, you guys use the product. You guys understand. You guys have the ear monitors. You have the microphones. You understand the product. And so it's like, if you have this dream brand that you want to work with, if you like, oh God, it would be so awesome if I were to talk to Sony, or if I were to talk, I'm just throwing out brands at this point. Well, if you don't use it and you just want that product from that company, you're probably not going to have a conversation with them, so go and use it and understand it, and then do tactical things like, follow them on social, start responding to them, start, making yourself aware of who those people are, start finding out who those people are that are in charge of influencers, find other influencers who do have deals, who are talking about those particular brands, find out, to your point, Jeff, network with somebody. Like, if I really wanted a Heil PR40, or I really wanted to work with Heil, and I saw that Jeff and Scott Ayers as well has a PR40. Hey, do you guys know anybody at Heil? Oh yeah, I know, this is, or whatever. Like, that's how you start to, open doors. Don't just sit back and think, if you go live as an influencer, that you're going to be approached by these dream brands. You'll get approached by brands for sure. Our inboxes are full of brands. Yeah. But 99% of those are not dream brands. And so you just have to be tactical about it, and you have to sort of mix and match both of them, because you can't say no to everyone. You want to be able to work with brands because you want to get those reps in.
Yeah. One of the things, we'll talk about this later, but kind of some of the brand deals, but I want to talk a little bit. So we kind of, how we approach brands, but then how do we actually find those brands other than networking and stuff like that? Like, if, for example, a lot of brands do not even know about Amazon Live or shoppable videos. They have no clue. And I've talked to some, even at that conference we were at, they were like, I don't even know how to find out who's an Amazon influencer. There's no real database or anything. Like, you can't, and you can't really search it like you can TikTok or Instagram or something like that. It's just like, you just kind of run across it. So, how do you find brands? Like, let's say you're a small influencer, and how do you find brands? Like, for example, I want to really get a brand deal with Mercedes. So, like what Chris Stone said, I'm just going to go buy a Mercedes and use it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic
I'm sure my wife
let us
will
know how that
love
works.
Idea.
It's a business. It's a write-off, right?
Yeah, exactly. So talk about, like,
make sure you click my affiliate link before you buy the Mercedes.
And we might as well get into this now, because when you start doing stuff and you mentioned your inbox getting full, you're going to get all sorts of junk sent to you. Like, hey, will you review this? Or, it's free. We'll just, give it to you. Just make a review. That's all we want. And then you start getting, a lot of junk. So how do you find those good brands that are willing to partner with influencers? Do we have to get with an agency? Do we have to, other than FaceTime, what's the best way to do that? So how do you partner? How do you find those brands that you want to have those deals with? Chris P, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so this is funny. Literally, this is a process that I went through and I got a VA to do it. Obviously, you can do it yourself. But what I did is I literally said, what do I talk about mostly, right? What is my main thing? So for me, it's tech, right? And live streaming, that kind of content. And so I literally was like, hey, I'm just going to type in microphones on Amazon and literally go through and figure out who all these brands are, right? Or I'm going to go through and find who sells cameras outside of the main three, right? Who sells game, I'm into gaming. So gaming, keyboards, mice, headphones, and literally go through and make that list. And once I made that list, literally, I just started searching up for contact information. And Amazon itself doesn't make it easy to find contact. So what the strategy we used was to go to LinkedIn. And we'd literally type in LinkedIn and go, marketing department, influencer. Like we would just try to use those keywords, but you would literally put, like my keyboard is Corsair. So I'd put in Corsair marketing and try to find somebody that's in that position and connect with them. And literally now you're just cold messaging them like, hey, have you ever heard of Amazon Live? Like, I saw you work at Corsair and I love your products. I'd love to see if there's something we can do together, because I know that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to sell more of your product. And I know it's not for sale on Amazon specifically, right? And so that's one of the ways that we took that path.
So real quick, a follow-up question to that, Chris P, is the messaging, the way you just said that. I think a lot of people don't understand how to do an ask. So can you dive in a little bit with that? Because you mentioned, hey, I use your product, I love it. I would love to, instead of like, this is my rate, you need to, you don't know how you've gotten those before. So talk a little bit about messaging when you're approaching those brands.
Yeah, when we were talking about value earlier, right? For me, what I understand about people in general, this is the world. The world is everybody's selfish. And so if you're the marketer at Corsair, you don't care that I'm on Amazon Live. You don't care that you don't even really care that I have 1 million followers, right?
That's it.
Until I go, hey, this is the value I can add for you. There's a new platform that I can get more eyeballs on your product and help you sell more of what you have. And this is how I would do it. I would love to see if we can partner together. So it's always lead with what you can do for the other person, and not, like you said, the selfish ask. And again, on the back end, you're asking for something, but you're giving first. You're providing something first.
So Chris Stone.
God, that's so good.
Yeah, it is.
That's so good. It's perfect. You're going to make me respond to that, Jeff?
Well, no, I want to take it. I want to take it a different way, because you mentioned before, like we a lot of times we think that we don't have enough followers, we don't have enough value. And what Chris P said was like, here's, you want to show them your value. But what if you're just getting started out, Chris Stone, and you feel like I just made influencer, do I have to wait a certain amount of time, get so many followers? What is my value when I'm first getting started, and how do I communicate that to brands?
I think confidence is a huge issue. And so you have to have that confidence. I mean, you heard Chris, speak with confidence just now, talking about, here's what I can do for you. There's no reason why you can't have that same confidence, even if this is the first time you're having a conversation with a brand. There's no reason, because if you are confident you can deliver this, then no matter the price, that this is your first conversation with a brand, and you're confident you can deliver that to this brand, then you should be able to do that. And if you get a no, then you get to go to the next one, and then go to the next one, and learn from each one of those conversations. That confidence is like, you said it, you countered it, Jeff, and you said, you're buffered it and say, oh, I'm just a brand new influencer. It's like, so what? It's like,
you're an influencer.
we all started there, right? And so I don't know who came up with this thing years ago, that in order to be a X amount of influencer, you had to have this social proof, right, of X amount of subscribers or followers. In this particular world, in live selling, it doesn't matter. It is inconsequential. With the value you can bring on this platform, if you're an influencer already with 100 followers or 10,000 followers, there's not a huge difference. There really is not a huge difference, especially knowing on Amazon that there's less than 2,000 total influencers with 50 million YouTube channels, that there's only like less than 2,000 influencers on it. And of those 2,000, a couple of hundred are really leaning into this. You have a huge advantage to a brand on the biggest mall in the world. Well, second biggest. I guess Alibaba may be the biggest. And Chris P Giles has a cumulative advantage over everyone being live on Alibaba right now. But I just, there's no reason, no reason, if you're an Amazon influencer, that you should not have a conversation with a brand and say, I'm an Amazon influencer. It was a perfect way of the way Chris said, is like, I use this, I use your product. Here's how I use it. Here's what I can do for you, because just like he said, and I mentioned earlier, they don't care about you. They only care what you can do for them in their job to make their job easier. When they're sitting on the Zoom call with their bosses in a conference room, what are we doing about influencer marketing? Well, all of a sudden this person says, well, I'm having a conversation with this Amazon influencer about doing this with this product and this with this product, which checks all the boxes of what they were supposed to do in their job. You've made their job easier, and they're going to get promoted or whatever. Right. That's what we're doing. We're helping them in their job. And oh, by the way, getting paid to talk about brands that we like.
Yeah. I think too, you mentioned, the bringing the value to them. And so this is, to be honest, is total transparency. Prime Day is, coming up the 12th and 13th. I approached brands and said, hey, I'm going to go live a lot for Prime Day. If you want to be a part of this, here you go. And that was my opening. And I mean, and it's all about them. It's like, hey, I'm going to be there anyway, doing this really cool stuff during the biggest sales day that's going to happen since before Black Friday. Do you want to be a part of it or not? And most all of them went, oh yeah, we want to do that. So
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit as you grow. And, and I've seen this happen more and more, is agencies are jumping on these influencers. And the funny thing is, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I think we've all been in this space long enough to know that a lot of influencers don't make any money. And so it's all kind of shadow and smoke. But and we were talking about these small ones. But brands are some of these agencies are starting to notice, like, especially like we were talking about Amazon Live, Amazon influencers. There's a dollar amount, like you are converting sales, and so these agencies are coming, out of the woodwork trying to partner with some of these influencers. Like, when should you hire an agency, or when should you be a part of an agency, and like what's their typical cut that they have? Chris P, what's your thoughts on that, on agencies?
I think it becomes like hiring anything else. And so I think, one of the things is the mindset, right? Is you got to look at this as a business. As a creator, it's a creator business. And so for me, one of the things that I recognize is that at a certain level, I have to delegate stuff, because I only have so much time to go live. I only have so much time to send emails personally. I only have so much time to answer emails personally. Like, Christone said, like, our email box is full, but somebody still has to go through it to see which ones are the actual brand, because you don't know until you open it up to go, oh, this is bad. This is bad. Okay, this is a good one. Let me respond, right? And so it becomes a time thing, really. And what are you willing to give up? And so what is your long-term plan, right? And so for me, one of the things that we even jumped into for a period, and we're working out how to actually make it worth it, was being able to fill that void for people that you need the help because you don't understand, or you just don't have the time to do it, right? Because that's why agents and agencies exist, because some people just don't want to do it. They just want to show up on camera and go live. And so it becomes a personal decision based on your business model. I mean, again, the percentages can range anywhere from, I've seen some as low as 3 or 4%. And these are like, because they have millions and millions and they make a lot of money, to, up to 15 and 20%, which sound harsh, but generally those are the ones that you're really only getting paid a couple $100 per thing. And so they have to somehow recoup the hours of having somebody look through your stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, I feel like it comes down to a personal decision of your business strategy and what you can afford to give away.
Very cool. So, what are your thoughts about agencies and working with those, Chris Stone?
Yeah, I think we haven't had a lot of experience actually working with agencies, and the reason is because we're control freaks. No, I think I just feel like any time, and this is the kind of the sensitive sort of thing with brand deals and everything else, is we want to make sure that it's a comfortable working relationship, which means, first and foremost, our goal in everything is to make sure that the people that are watching and listening to us trust what we're saying. And so if I say this phone charger is awesome and I use it for this and I use it for this and I use it for this, it isn't because that company paid me money to say that. It is because I believe in it, and maybe the company did pay me money, but I believe in it. And so that means that if I'm having a conversation with a company or a brand and I'm supposed to be doing something that falls outside of that parameter, it's a non-starter, because I have to know and trust that particular item and brand personally. We have to really stand by it. And so that means we say no a lot, because I opened the box and it fell apart, or I don't like this because it doesn't sound good, or whatever. And we're going to say, tell the brand, listen, this doesn't work for us because, sorry, this it doesn't fall within that. And so I think when it comes to agencies, there's a lot of prerequisites and requirements and things that are a little out of our control, and we're just not comfortable doing it, because for us, the longer game of trust with our audience is much more valuable.
So let's talk about, because we're getting short on time. I mean, we could do hours on this, but John and Facebook said, I just followed Dealcasters on Amazon. You guys need to follow both these guys. I've been putting up their names the entire time.
Thank you, John.
So, Chris P, why don't you say yours for the podcast so people can know where to follow you real quick before. Yeah.
Absolutely. Techtalkwithchris.live takes you right to the Amazon page.
And of course, the amazing Dealcasters at dealcasters.live. You can follow them as well. So let's talk real quick with the time we have left, some best practices. So okay, I got a brand deal. How cool is that? Okay, now what do I do? What are some of your best practices, Chris P? What do you like to do when they sign on the dotted line? I know both of you guys over deliver. So I know, sure, that's one of them, but what are some other best practices for working with brands?
Mine's gonna sound crazy, man, because I'm that straightforward guy. One of the things, like Chris said, was that the authenticity of the product, right? Whether you like it or not, type thing. So you prefer to do products that you like. I actually I'll take the deals and say, hey, I'm talking about your product, but just know that I'm gonna be honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do the talking points. A company, they had a 360 camera and it didn't work on my live stream. And so they were upset by it. And I was like, well, on my deal, I was very clear in the deal that I don't open the box until I go live. And so if it doesn't work, you should really fix that. I'll go on the next one. So since you helped me figure it out, and tell them what was wrong with it. But it was the authenticity. So now my audience goes, oh, he'll tell us if it's actually not a great product, or if this is a flaw and you may need to check something else out. And so that's the big thing for me, is making sure we're clear on the communication of what to expect, because I'm just very different in that sense. So that's the biggest thing. And then making sure that whatever you do say you'll deliver, that you deliver it quickly and within the time frame. Because a lot of times people are like, oh, I keep telling them 3 days and then I got behind in 2 weeks, and that makes you look bad, because why would they ever want to do a deal with you if you can't even follow what you told them you would do? So those are kind of my two best practices, man.
So on your time, what do you typically tell people to make a video? Let's say just a shoppable video. Do you give them a certain, it's a week, 2 weeks? What's your typical time for a turnaround?
Yeah, on a shoppable video, it's a week for me. If it's a live stream, what I'll do is, because if I'm going to put it in, if the package is multiple live streams, I make sure I clearly communicate. I'm not going to do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? I'll do it one this week, one next week, one the week after, to kind of help them spread it out and tell them the strategy. Essentially, I also try to educate them and explain the strategy behind it, right? Because if I'm talking about this particular microphone, I explain to them this microphone has the ability to show up on other mic pages, right? If we do this right. And so I'm going to tell them, hey, I'm going to have other mic-like items in there, right? I won't talk about other mics, but I'll have preamps and Rodecaster and this other stuff in the carousel that I'll be talking about that complements your product, but it's really to help you. And so, yeah, so generally a week, again, and again, as you guys are talking about, Prime Day, obviously, then you're like, oh, well, that's in a couple weeks. So, we got to make sure it's up quick and that kind of thing.
Cool. Chris Stone, what is your best practices for working with brands?
Yeah, I love what he was talking about. I think it just falls under there's a misconception, especially from the brand world, that a lot of influencers are kind of flaky and creators and just sleep until 11, and do what they want to do, and I think be professional. Answer their emails, be clear. I love that, what Chris is talking about is let them know what to expect, not surprise them with something out of the blue, like, oh, well, you didn't tell me you were going to have this, that, and the other. And maybe, so I think, what you need to do, especially if you're in a conversation with a brand that is paying you and sending you products and there's expectations, really be clear with them on, get some context about their company, find out what their not just their expectations of, deliverable at, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but like, tell me a little bit more about your company. What's the culture like? Like, what do you guys have coming up? Do you guys have any sort of promotions that are coming up? Like, what's a big focus right now for you guys? Like, talk about that kind of stuff, which can spark all kinds of different conversations, which may end up showing up on your live streams, product videos with that context. Because if a focus of a microphone company is they want to be hitting a particular demographic, and that fits within your brand, like maybe start speaking to those that context within some of your videos, and so they're like, well, this person understands our company, this person understands what we want to achieve with that. And I think there's a lot of influencers that are like, oh, check the box, I'm getting free stuff, and I'm just, here's this and here's what it does, and like, the page says what it does. Like, add some real context, add some real personality, add some real value to what you're doing, not just value to the customer, but value to the company and the brand that you're doing the deal with.
Awesome stuff. So we are at the end of your time, and my computer is just about ready to die. So I'm having trouble switching screens. So I don't know if it's going to be on.
What better screen to be on than
I know it's
follow me. Ladies and gentlemen, I've taken over social media news live. Welcome to the Chris Stone Show.
It's just time for a new Mac. I keep having to pour gasoline in it.
No, I love your Mac, Jeff. This is the best Mac ever.
Yeah, it's probably, you love it, don't you? Well, hopefully. So Chris, while you're up on screen, why don't you tell us where? There you go. We'll just leave it here, and I won't touch anything. But Chris Stone, tell everybody where they can find out more about you and everything awesome that you do. chrisstone.contact. And that way, when you go there, you can, wherever you want to connect with me, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, you want to see some wacky videos, you want to, look at my flashy new Pinterest page that Jeff C helped me with. A couple of idea pins, but we can connect wherever you want to connect by going to chrisstone.contact. And Chris P Giles, thank you so much, my friend, for coming on the show today. You were so much information. I loved hanging out with you and seeing you at Podfest and Amazon Live Day there. But where can people find out all things Chris P Giles?
Man, that's easy, man. Chris P Giles 1, the number 1 on all social media. ChrisPGiles.com for the contact info. Apparently I need to get like Chris Stone with these dots, man. I need a dot contact now. He's the one who made me get a dot live, just for the record. Like, that's the only reason I have a dot live. Oh, that's that. Hey, he got me on dot live too, so he's the man. So. And all you guys, thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure that you check out our sponsors, ECAMM. You can find that out at socialmedianewslive.com/ECAMM. And they have a special this month going on. All their plans, you can get 30% off if you go there and put the promo code July30. And that's all uppercase, all squished together. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.